Streamers to streamers. You know, I wish like the Twitch Prime loot would actually be for a game that I play.
Sometimes.
For as much as is in there, like I don't play any of the games. I don't do Mobile Legends. I don't do RuneScape. I guess I could download Apex, but I don't know why I would want to download Apex. All right, I'll jump on here, see if everything is. Freelancer Codex is streaming, just chatting. Watch now. Some like magic, Devin. How come you don't have Devin Xbox Ambassador up there?
A long name.
You're like the Xbox Ambassador, though. That's like your deal.
Change my name.
You want to change your name? I mean, just add Xbox Ambassador. That way people know. I dig the background, though. Background's yellow. Looks like that one weird thing that's yellow. You know the weird thing that's yellow? Yeah, you do. You know. 7 days remaining on my sub.
Urinal cake?
No, I don't think it looks like that. All right. Yeah, I should have I have not been paying attention to Biomutant for a really long time, but I guess that
they've been silent for I mean, they did some stuff last year, but
was it 2017 the first time we saw it? It was the same E3 that Anthem was there, huh?
Yeah.
If I remember correctly, which was a really long time ago. I wonder how many podcasts there were about Biomutant.
There was a lot of stuff about it.
Yeah, but did anyone start the longest running Biomutant podcast on the internet? I bet you someone did. How many podcasts do you think there will be around Marvel's Avengers?
There'll be a lot. If I'm going to put Xbox Ambassador, I should have the Xbox font.
I mean, I can download the Xbox font. I don't know what they're using for their new stuff, though.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
But I could totally find you the Xbox font if you want me to find you the Xbox font. That is something I will do. I will make it happen. I'll call Phil Spencer myself. I'll go, hey, Phil.
Hey, Phil. Come on, man.
Record to the cloud. Too scared of the cloud to record to the cloud. Who knows what's in the cloud, Devin? I don't.
Is there black bars? Maybe that's just
Black bars where? Nope, I don't see any black bars on while I'm watching it.
It must just be on mod view.
No, it all looks good in the hood over here. It looks like nice, shiny streaming.
It's there.
It is there. It is there indeed. Talk shows and podcasts. Is that what this is? Is there a talk shows and podcast tag?
No. I just put English gaming news.
No, so I'm looking over here on just okay. So yeah, Mulehorn for some reason is under talk shows and podcasts. Nope, you got to be in that. You got to be in that just chatting, that just talk there. Just chatting. That's where all the podcasters tell us to go.
That's right.
Ooh, they're talking about analog assault podcast, racism, sexual harassment, and heavy topics.
Heavy topics tonight, not from us.
We'll talk a little bit about some heavy topics, but
we're not talking about my weight tonight.
Oh snap, Devin! How is your weight loss going?
It's just staying steady. It's not really going down or up, but
steady's good.
Yeah.
SJ Dub, hey, thanks for catching us. We're excited you're able to catch us for the first time. We're just doing pre-show stuff right now.
Thank you.
So why were you able to catch us this time?
They got
a free time during work? Well, no, I'm always curious because usually it's like, hey, free time or just hanging out or I don't know, just chatting with the group. All right, Devin, Xbox Ambassador Devin. Like hit pause and resume on you or something, man. Like simmer down. Yeah, pause and resume. If that's gonna be a thing that we can do on the Series
Reach
X.
my hand into your screen. Put bunny rabbit over your head.
Do it again. Nope, that's the wrong side. Hey, sorry, Cruz. Sorry, I apologize.
Freaked out the dog.
Apparently, I was in his way. He must have been wanting to come in. So, all right. So, things that we're going to chat about. So, we will. Okay, so see, usually has a lot of homework, but got it done early today. Nice. Homework for what? What classes are you taking? Let's see. We've got some ad reads. We'll talk about our interview with Adam Stewart. We'll plug that for Monday's thing.
Mm-hmm.
So I figured after we talk about all the news stuff, I want to hear your take on your Disintegration stuff. Then we'll talk about your new video series that's coming along and the other stuff you've been playing. What else have you been playing?
Just been playing Battlefield 5. I reinstalled Halo Wars 2 because I never finished the 2 sets of DLC that came out after the main story.
Oh, I didn't know they had DLC.
Yeah, they have 2 different campaigns. Like the first one has like 2 missions, and then the second one has 5. And the last DLC that came out deals with the flood. So,
why the disparity between like 2 missions compared to 5 missions? That seems like a pretty big difference between DLCs.
I'm not sure.
Come on, Xbox Ambassador.
That came out a while ago, a couple years ago.
How long has it been? It's been 3 years.
I think it's at least 2. It'll be almost 5 when Halo Infinite comes.
Studying to become software engineer, but this last English class is killing me. I don't like writing. Writing is rough.
Indeed, it is.
Writing is tough. I have recently been writing a couple of videos that I've been recording, and that's like 1,000 words at a time, and that's hard to do. I was really stupid at one point, and when we were doing our D&D podcast, I was like, all right, I'll just write up a synopsis. And those synopsises ended up being so long. They ended up being like 3,000 words each. And I'm like, I don't think anyone's reading these. This is a lot of work. So I'll probably just stop doing this. No, writing stuff.
I was surprised you could actually hear me, Steven, because my mic wasn't even close to my face. I was like, I should probably move this microphone over because it was like 3 or 4 feet away from me. So maybe we should check. I gotta check this stuff, make sure it's coming through the right one.
I mean, you sound really good right now.
Yeah, no, it's coming through there. No, it was just funny because it's like I looked over, I'm like, oh, my mic's not even over here, and I forgot.
Yeah, that is weird because most of the time you usually come in super low. Yeah, so those synopsises that I wrote up, I thought they would be like helpful for people. I mean, they were helpful for me. It helped me practice actually doing some writing because for the Godfall 101 stuff that I've been doing, like just having to type those out, like 1,000 words is about 8 minutes of content for me. So it's like, all right, if I get to about 1,000 words on this topic, I can knock this out, and I know the video will be long enough, and so that's where the writing has actually helped me. But I also just kind of, it's a process. Writing's tough. Like after I write it out and then I read it, I'm like, wow, that just all sounded really dumb. I'm gonna have to start over.
Don't you hate that doubt? Like when you read it, you're like, in my head it sounded good, but now I'm reading it again and it doesn't sound good anymore.
Yeah, and that's a tough thing to get over because it's always going to sound weird, I think, when you're like, oh, these are my words and my words are dumb.
Yeah.
Who would want to listen to this? I think eventually you just like, nope, let's record it, we'll put it out, we'll call it good, and whatever happens like that's the tough thing for me is like, all right, here we go. I mean, I'm sure hundreds of other people have said similar things about this game, but you can either just sit on it or you put it out and whatever happens.
Yeah, I mean, that's how we got Anthem, right?
You put it out and whatever happens. That's a low blow, Devin. Low blow. Man.
No, I mean, yeah, I'm a little feisty today. I mean, eventually it's the same for all game developers when they're like, okay, we have all these features we want to put in there. There's all these things we want to do. And whenever they're making it, they're like, oh, this isn't quite good enough. And they can keep working on it for forever. But eventually, if you want to get the game out there, They just have to put it out there, and hopefully things don't break. I mean, obviously when they put Anthem out there, they didn't anticipate it breaking, right, and not working as it was supposed to. So, yeah, I mean, it was rough, and sometimes it works, and sometimes it doesn't. But
I think a lot of the times it doesn't, because I mean, considering how many games are out there.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I mean, 700 games release every day on Steam or something.
Every day, every month, right? Every month, not every day.
Yeah, every month, not every day. I mean, every day maybe. But.
If it was every day, like, who would want to make video games anymore? They're like, this Steam is overcrowded. No point in going there.
Yeah, I think the market is saturated. Who was it that just recently talked about game development and not being sustainable? I think that was the Sony X. Let's see, Sony.
Yeah, what's his, he was like, he's like, I would like to see the return of AAA, like 11 to 15 hour games, right? Where it's not like this live service type stuff, but it's like you play it, you complete it, and you enjoyed it, and you can replay it if you want, but then you move on, to the next project.
Sean Layden.
Yep, that's the guy.
I am going to put this in our show notes before we start, because I would like to talk about it, because this is something that we have spoken about a lot on the show.
Indeed.
It's almost like we know what we're talking about.
Almost like we talk about this stuff a lot.
Almost, right?
Almost.
It's almost like we like video games.
Nah.
So SJ Dub, what else are you playing when you are not studying to be an engineer? So what kind of software engineer? Are you going to go into game development, other areas where you do software development?
It's classified.
Can't tell you. If I told you, I have to kill you.
Wouldn't be against shorter games. Don't have a lot of free time.
No, I totally agree. Like, I think shorter experiences that are curated are like, hey, if someone can tell you a story in 10 hours compared to 50 hours, I would rather play the 10-hour experience. That way you can play more games, you can get more of those experiences. So yeah, hands down, I'm all about that life.
I would say my biggest problem with single player games is timing. Like, for me personally, because I have gaming ADD, and it's like, I can sit down and play this game, but if I don't get it done like within the first week, I'm probably not going to finish it for a long time, because I'll just get distracted and go back to what I was playing with my friends.
Yeah.
So, and that's hard for me, because like just thinking about Cyberpunk, and they're like, yeah, 4 hours is like barely even scratching the surface, and I'm like, dang it. I mean, you just have to have the time, to do those kind of things and to really focus on that, and it's hard to have that time.
No, and that's a massive undertaking. I mean, just looking at whatever they showed off today and just the sheer scope of it. I mean, considering The Witcher 3 was, I mean, I think I spent like 70 hours and got maybe halfway into that game. But so SJ says dream job would be to get into video game development. So what's your dream studio? Where do you want to work? Dream studio, Devin, where would you want to work?
Where do I want to work? Obviously, I would love to work at 343 Industries, because I love Halo. But growing up, I always wanted to work at Rare, right? That would still to this day, like, if I could, I would be giddy as a schoolgirl if I could even visit Rare, right? I mean, I wanted to work at Bungie for a long time, and it was like, back when they were making Halo. But they're a different studio, just like any other studio. As time goes on, people will leave and change, and culture changes, and they have, hundreds of people that work there now. It's not a smaller, like 100 to 150 people working on a game. We have 500 plus people working on multiple games. But I mean, that's the same as like 343, but they have 500 people plus all working on Halo.
I think you would want to work with any development team that's working on Halo, though.
Yes, 1000%. No, it wouldn't have to be Bungie. It wouldn't have to be 343. I mean, I would even go check out like Certain Affinity when they were making Halo Wars 2. It's like that, or Creative Assembly, not Certain Affinity. Yeah, no, it's I just love Halo.
And that is okay if you love Halo. No one's going to judge you for that. I'm sure a lot.
I mean, I have like, if I'm looking at my bookshelf right in front of me, I have 1,
Flip that camera around.
Oh, it's messy. But I have 16 Halo books right here. Like one of them isn't even, I mean, it's just like the comics from Dark Horse. You know,
yeah.
Like, I got this whole massive thing.
Holy crap, that's a huge book.
Yeah, it's all the comics that they'd released together.
It's every single one of them.
Yeah, it's that whole series, the Escalation one with Palmer stuff.
Frickin' Palmer, man.
Yep. So
let's make a character.
Oh man, I messed up my bookshelf.
Is it gonna fall on top of your
I'm
computer?
just gonna have to leave that down there till after the show. No, like I had some, because there's games next to it, and then a bunch of them. But yeah, no, like there's all kinds of Halo stuff. Like, look over here. Let me show you.
All right, show us. Store time.
So
that do you have? Is that the Infinity? The Infinite? What's the ship called? The USSC Infinity?
I can't even remember what it's called.
No, I think it's called the Infinity. That's weird that that ship's called the Infinity and they're naming this one Infinite. Huh? Interesting.
But no, my favorite one is because I actually won one of the prizes from 343. They sent me a handwritten note. It just says "Enjoy, love 343." It's like, oh, something.
I mean, that's cool. What did you win?
It's like Halo Reach, Infection, Spartan ODSTs versus Zombie Spartans. There's 3 of them.
No,
up
like
there.
what contest did you win?
It's just a Twitter one for a drawing, and I was like, holy crap! But no, my prize Halo possession is a signed by 20 developers picture from Halo 5. Yep.
How did you get that?
I got it from Green School.
Nice.
When I met him at E3.
That guy's good for something, huh?
He's a nice guy.
I know. I'm just kidding. I'm giving Green School a hard time because he's like 14 years old.
He's like 26 or 27.
He was 14 years old when 10 years ago. He was 14 years old.
I missed 3 or 4 Halo books over there. I just noticed. Anyways, he's gotten sucked into Destiny. Yep.
Good luck. Like that is something. Luckily, I've been able to avoid. I never after a base game completed the base game and I just put it down and I have not gone back. So.
Yeah. It looks like Microsoft has a marketing deal for Destiny 2 now.
Really?
Yeah.
So all their they went through?
All their videos, hey, it's a business, man. Plus Phil Spencer loves Destiny, so
plus they don't have the backing of Activision anymore, and they're like, we need money.
You know, at least they're not, I mean, hopefully they're not doing the same exclusive garbage that they were doing before, which was horrible. Anti-consumer.
I mean, if they do that under Phil, then Phil just.
Well, no, I mean, Bungie themselves said they would never do that again. So, I mean, I don't think, I'm sure it's just marketing, but it was funny because somebody's like, why would they want to have the marketing for that? Destiny 2 is going to be over. It's like, they just announced the next 3 years of Destiny 2. It's like, why would you not want to have marketing for that game on your console? I mean, they even mentioned it in the Xbox One X. I just had a brain fart.
Especially if they start that partnership now again, and whenever the other game that they're working on comes out, whichever one I think they're developing that one. Tencent gave them money. I think is it Tencent?
NetEase. It was NetEase. They gave them $150 million.
One of those two companies, because they eventually Tencent is going to own everyone.
Yeah, well, as long as they let them keep buying them. But no, it was the Xbox Series X enhanced or whatever they were going off their logo, and they specifically mentioned like Destiny 2. Like they're going back in and doing that stuff, but it's all marketing.
It's all about generations. We believe in generations. Here's GTA 5. All right, you ready to start this show?
Yeah, man, I'm ready.
I don't even know what we're talking about today, but we'll get into it. So 3.
We got a long list.
2, 1.
You are listening to the Freelancer Codex, a podcast brought to you by the Shut Up and Respawn Network.
Welcome back, everyone, to episode 128. I can say that because Mike's not here and he won't give me a hard time. I can say 128 all day long, and I won't get grief for it. So,
perfectly fine.
128, the Freelancer Codex podcast, June 25th of 2020. I'm your host, Steve, along with my co-host, Devin. We are two-manning this raid tonight. People said it was impossible to two-man a podcast. We're going to do it. I mean, I'm sure a lot of people do it. I'm sure there's a lot of podcasts where it's just, they solo it. But we're going to two-man it tonight.
Mm-hmm.
And thank you, everyone in the chat, for hanging out with us. We got a lot of stuff to talk about. Before we dive in, though, I feel, Devin, like we have a personal responsibility to address a couple things that have been happening in the world, because I had my nieces and nephew over. They're getting older. One of them's in college, and they're like, "Hey, Uncle Steve, we subscribe to your podcast." And I'm like, "Thank you. Like, make a bunch more accounts and just keep subscribing to it, right? Boost those numbers up
No.
for the kids." So, like, eventually it's like, okay, so I mean, like, we have to set an example because we've got, family listening. They're impressionable. They're kids, so you got to hear this stuff. There's been a lot of stuff going on in the world in 2020. 2020 has been pretty interesting. We still have protests going on for social equality in the Black Lives Matter movement. Recently, this week and last week, there has been a lot of talk about sexual harassment in the video game industry. It's kind of been in every industry. But since this is a video game centered podcast, we figured we'd talk about that a little bit. I'm sorry if people don't like talking about this. I don't think this is like a political issue. I think this is just like a human decency issue. So I feel pretty comfortable talking about it. Sexual harassment doesn't only happen to women, it happens to men also. So this is something that is going to affect all of us in one way or another, whether it's happened to us, whether it's happening to someone that we know. It it's something that should be addressed. It's something that, as consumers of video games, it's easy to turn a blind eye to it, to the things that happen, because, hey, but look at this cool game that I got, right? Sometimes when we talk about crunch and we're like, we hate crunch so much, but when a cool game comes out of a studio and we're like, oh man, they worked so hard on this game. Well, it's because they crunched. And you know what? They probably worked really hard on this game with a lot of this other type of stuff going on. I think 2020 has been pretty interesting because things are just being brought to light more. And I think people are just kind of done and upset with the status quo, because it seems like, once every year we hear about these things that go on, or a story pops up about some high up developer in a game company where things come out and it's just like, really, this again? And I think eventually people would just kind of get sick of it. And now it's like, hey, it's time to share these experiences, because some of the women that have come forward have been sitting on these experiences for 10 plus years. And in a business environment like video games, it's hard to come forward, because if you are passionate about games and this is your opportunity to learn about games, and it's either suffer through this and get those opportunities or speak up and get fired. I mean, that's a hard position to be in for a lot of people. So when people say, oh, why didn't you speak up then? It's like, well, I don't think it's that easy, right? These aren't just like, oh, you should have done this and it would have all gone away. It's a tough situation to be in, and I feel sad that this kind of thing is happening in an industry that we love so much, and an industry that we care about.
Yeah, I think some of the reaction I've been seeing online and stuff is, some people are like, oh, we just need to clean out the industry, or people need to stop making games and different things. It's like it's just not every single person, within this industry. There's a lot of abuse and abuse of power and other things that have gone on, and it's good that people are coming forward to be able to tell their stories. But it's also, important as they tell the stories to, make sure we're not just being like, oh, quick to judge every single person on everything that they say and do. But, we have to investigate and figure things out and make sure people are held accountable if it's true or not, and the internet is definitely, I mean, we're not the ones that should be doing the investigations, but obviously we can definitely help find out things. As we've seen many times before, unfortunately. But it's not an easy topic, and it's something that people like to forget about because it's uncomfortable to talk about, whether it's affected you or someone you know. And it's easier just to try and put it out of your mind so you don't have to deal with those emotions and everything else that come forward. And so it's definitely hard for them, for people that have gone through that. And Yeah, I mean, it's
And
definitely a difficult thing for them to go
it's
through.
tough. And unfortunately, it seems to always come from like someone that is in a position of power, right? Because like we said, I mean, it's so easy, especially for like streaming culture. It's so hard to get noticed. It's so hard to like climb those ranks because there's how many thousands of people streaming like the same game that you're streaming. And the way to get noticed is to like, hey, I got noticed by this person. This person, wants to go to this party after E3 or after PAX. And unfortunately, there's alcohol everywhere. There's open bars everywhere at those parties, and that doesn't help the situation. I'm not saying like, hey, that's the problem. Like, I
Yeah.
know a lot of people that drink responsibly, but it doesn't help the situation in a lot of times. And it's just people abusing power, unfortunately. And when you're in that position to be like, hey, you can either stay here or you can leave. Like a lot of people that are passionate would. It's tough. So we encourage people that like seek the help. If you have been abused, seek out help. I don't know. I'm not a professional. I don't know, the right thing to say, so I'm not going to pretend to. But I and for everyone else, like I think we need to step up and be better. I think it's very similar to when we're trying to support people that feel oppressed. Like we need to be listening honestly to these people, to everyone. We need to listen to our brothers and sisters because we have to help each other. We have to support each other. um and unfortunately this happens like every so often, and we need to figure out a way to stop it, and I hope it eventually does stop. All right, Devin, let's talk about some video games after talking about
Let's.
that then. And let's just kind of get to it. But before we do that, if anyone wants to write in, please do that at freelancercodex@gmail.com. And you can also leave us a voice message over at anchor.fm freelancer/freelancer/message, and we can put that on the show. Okay, thank you for our supporters, for everyone that supports us on Patreon. Thanks our patrons for. Let's thank Julius, Nathan B, Michael R, Trent B, Man and Still, Scout 69, Dragonheart 76, Jeffrey H, and the Gameplay Experience. We really, really appreciate all the continued support that we've gotten from everyone. If you are a patron, you get access, depending on your tier, to our pre-show content. So we were talking a bunch earlier before we started recording the show live here on Twitch about a bunch of stuff, and you can go get all that juicy content, that pre-show content. And we also have a monthly challenge coin that we send out that we make here in-house. So we'll send those out to those supporters as well. Cool. Devin, that's how it's done. All right, this week, Devin and I got a
Indeed.
chance to sit down and talk with Adam Stewart of One Man Left Studios. You will know their games from such iPad titles as Tilt to Live, one of the very first like good iPad games there were when it came out. Tilt to Live was a fantastic game. We spent a lot of time playing Tilt to Live. They also made Outwitters. A lot of time playing Outwitters and testing that game. Devin and I were both testers there, and we got into a lot of fights over that game, a lot of yelling, a lot of name calling, especially that other tester. There was one other tester that was just cheated all the time in this game while we were trying to do some testing on this game, and it was very frustrating. Very frustrating that would cheat. We called him out on the forums. He said no. We're like, yes, you are. You're obviously cheating. We have proof. We can see this. There's no way you would be able to know where this person is, and you just jumped right by him at that. Anyway, lots of fun. That interview is going to go up on YouTube and on the podcast feed on Monday. So look forward to that. We had a good time talking with Adam. I think we did. Do you think
Yeah, it was a lot of fun.
Devin?
It was great fun. He's working on the game still, and yeah, he gave some shout outs to his stuff that he's working on. It's on Steam, so it's not on Apple anymore. So he's kind of moving on from that because it's super crowded there, but not that it's not crowded on Steam. But yeah, I mean, you can play a demo and check it out, and he's more than happy to hear what you guys think.
Yep. Okay, then next Hex Gambit Shoot, I just forgot the name of the thing. I should remember this. It's called Hex Gambit on Steam, and you can download the demo. All right, Devin, let's have Keanu introduce us to the news.
All right. I gotta talk to you about something.
And it's actually a good thing Keanu's introducing us to the news, because he's actually going to be in the news because he was showcased earlier today. But first, Devin, tell us about Microsoft shutting down the Mixer streaming platform.
Yeah, no, I mean, from a business decision, it just wasn't working out, right? Obviously. I think that was kind of evident with all the problems that they've been having for a while, and it just wasn't gaining the foothold that they wanted. So they made a way for Facebook Gaming, came in and made a way. There's no like transferring of anything from Mixer to Facebook Gaming, but they stepped up and said, hey, we'll work with the partners, people who were made partner on Mixer, and they can do stuff with Facebook Gaming, and they're just kind of helping pave the way for that. I mean, Facebook has over 2 billion people on it that can possibly see your content, so if they let people.
So there were some numbers that came out previously, and so these were taken from these numbers. This data was provided by Facebook specifically. So according to platform, and this is hours watched per platform. So other websites or whatever, this probably includes Caffeine and some of those others. Hours watched, they had 1.9 billion hours watched. Mixer had 37 million hours watched. Facebook Gaming had 86 million hours watched. YouTube Gaming had 279 million hours watched, and Twitch had a small number of 750 million hours watched.
And this was 2019.
Was in April of 2019. So in 2020 of April, Twitch had 1.49 billion people hours watched in April.
Yeah.
Like that is 98% growth for Twitch. YouTube Gaming grew by 65% to 461 million. Facebook Gaming grew to 291 million for 238%. So that was a huge increase for them. And then Mixer increased by 0.2%. Now, this is after the acquisition of people like Ninja, Shroud, Gothalion, and the other people that they had on. So, like you said, Devin, the growth wasn't there. I mean, I don't know what else they could have done. I think Twitch just has such a huge market share, and it's just synonymous with game streaming. They have features in there now that Mixer didn't have. Mixer did have, the FTL. They had the low latency streaming, but now Twitch even has something similar. Not as fast, but it's similar. And I just don't think that they were able to keep up. I don't know if it's just because they weren't innovating on ideas, or if people are just like, no, like they've spent all the money on Twitch. They've got all their emotes. They've got their Kappa and their Pog Champs and their Bible Thumps. I don't know.
Well, I mean, it's hard, right? I mean, you get stuff linked in with Amazon and then YouTube. Obviously, people go there to watch movies or different stuff. And then Facebook is, people are already on Facebook. There's billions of people on Facebook, so why not? Neighbors, so last thing is.
But so, will you, Devin, Xbox ambassador, will you watch stuff on Facebook Gaming?
Sure, yeah. I mean, I already have. It's definitely has really bad, latency compared to Mixer or even Twitch. So it's like 10 to 15 seconds behind. I mean, that's definitely something they have to fix to make it better. Because trying to communicate with the person on stream, so they're talking and then you type something, because
there's the delay.
Yeah, there's a delay, and so when it's not as fluent of a conversation, or I mean, it's still enjoyable, but it's they screw something up and you're like, you type something, and then they see it 15 seconds. Oh yeah, or you see their response to it 15 seconds later. Anyways. But
it's like me playing Dark Souls and Honest telling me how terrible I'm playing Dark Souls.
Probably.
And I get that message 15 seconds later, yeah, I'm dead. I'm sorry. But yeah, I don't think I will ever go watch anything on Facebook Gaming. I have Facebook for one reason, and that's a chat thread that I have from my brothers. Other than that, I have given that up. I've passed on. I don't want anything to do with Facebook. I don't know how many times I can see the same, hey, find out your personality. What Disney character are you? What bubblegum should you eat? So it's just not something I'm.
Well, you shouldn't eat bubblegum, but you can chew it.
I'm sure you can eat bubblegum. I'm sure that's fine. Like the only streamers I ever watched on Mixer that I even knew on Mixer was Lupo, friend of the show, who's been on a couple times. But other than that, there's like no one else there that I'm like, oh, I only went to Mixer to watch this person. And I don't know if that's just because I don't do watch a lot of streamers anyway.
Mm-hmm.
Because usually when I'm on, I want to be playing games or working on content. So I mean that's probably just a personal thing for me. But
yeah. I mean, I watch several people on Twitch, mostly just because of like for Sea of Thieves stuff. And the crazy thing was, even Microsoft's internal studios, they had, I mean, Twitch Prime or the Twitch drops, all this stuff, like they were all doing those things on Twitch instead of on Mixer, because they would do stuff on Mixer, but there just wasn't the same, user base, or wasn't the same reach. And so they would do it on Twitch, and it would just drive people crazy. They're like, why am I streaming over here on Mixer when the internal Microsoft studios are doing stuff on Twitch? Or vice versa. And I mean, I enjoy watching it. I have stuff up for Sea of Thieves because they do contests. Like they recently just had 2 weeks of drops every single day for watching the streamers. And so you watch them and they're fun. There's some of them that I enjoy watching. And sometimes I just, like when I'm going through a lot of paperwork at home, I have it on just for noise going on in the background. So, but yeah, I mean, I don't really watch too many people. There's a few of them that I do watch, but I've been watching them when they switch from just doing YouTube videos to streams and still do YouTube videos. But yeah, I mean, it's mostly just like I hop in, I check things out when I'm not doing something else. Because you're right, I mean, I would rather be playing video games, but when I can't be playing games, then I'm fine watching them. Yeah. It's like people watching us right now.
I guess,
noise in the background.
Thank you, everyone, for watching us on Twitch and not on YouTube Gaming. Yeah, I don't know. I think YouTube is made for watching videos that people have already made. Twitch is for watching streamers. Facebook is for old people. And Mixer is no more. So, I mean, that's just my personal opinion. All right, let's move on for this. So, a couple other things I want to talk about. All right. So Facebook also just bought Ready at Dawn, the studio behind Lone Echo and Order 1886. I didn't realize that Facebook was still buying the studios. I'm guessing this is for their Oculus division.
Yeah, because Ready at Dawn's been making VR games.
Yeah. And Lone Echo is one of the best VR titles that is out there. If you talk to Scout, one of our community members who is way into VR, Lone Echo is one of the best things out there. I don't know if this is going to be the new, hey, this is where studios go to die, because VR is. I was kind of disappointed that we haven't heard anything about PlayStation VR for the PS5, because I think that's one of the things that was continuing to grow the VR community, was having it readily available.
Maybe they'll talk about it in August, because they're supposed to do another show in August.
I hope so.
There's a lot of speculation, like that's why they haven't shown off the back of the console yet, because they don't want people to see the ports. So it either will kill the rumors for the PlayStation 5 VR connection or enhance it, right? So
this is why we have you on the show, Devin. Things I didn't even consider. Because we know for sure that Xbox, they're like, nah, we're not doing that. We're not supporting it, which is really weird. Like, I really wish like Phil would be like, hey, this is something that's coming up. So let's jump on this. Let's help the growth here. Because I really think VR, like, it's just waiting for that moment or that title to where, or just that headset that just fits on people's heads and is actually comfortable and doesn't require a million cables, kind of like Jay was saying when we interviewed him. Yeah. But
I mean, I think they're working closer on it, right? I mean, they have the HoloLens stuff that they're doing for AR, and they're kind of really focusing on that. But I mean, they came out and they're like, look, VR is cool. It's just not big enough yet, right? I mean, it's a big risk to take and a lot of investment. I mean, which I think they were spending all that money on Mixer, right?
Unfortunately, yeah.
I mean, because like if you consider the big streamers that we mentioned, like we don't know the exact money value for like Ninja and
Ninja, I mean. Ninja got paid out $30 million. Shroud got $10 million.
But I mean, and they had to get bought out by their contracts. So, I mean, it's just is what it is. They try things and they don't work, and they tried to connect, and so maybe they're a little leery of those peripheral type things, because the internet likes to crucify the Xbox, whatever they do. So
that is.
I mean, I'll stay off of that soapbox as much as possible.
Thank you, Xbox Ambassador Devin. I appreciate it. All right. So this is kind of interesting story. I wanted to get your take on it. So the new Pokemon game was announced, okay, and it is a MOBA. So the Pokemon Company announced the next new title, Pokemon Unite. It's a multiplayer online battle arena game made in a partnership with Tencent. Hey, Tencent, they're gonna own the world someday. I think whenever like the when the corporations take over, and you can either like side with Taco Bell or Tencent. I think I'm gonna side with Tencent because they'll have Pokemon. So real quick, SJ says in the chat, I think Xbox is too focused on building things like Game Pass and xCloud to worry about VR, and that's probably very true.
Building services, right?
Game Pass is going to be huge for Xbox. It's going to be it's one of the things right now that makes them different. It's one of the things that drives, like it makes people say, "Hey, this is a way better value than anything that Sony is offering right now." xCloud, I don't think will be there yet, but with their partnership with Facebook, I mean, if you could just be on Facebook and say, "Hey, you guys want to play?" and you click on a button that says, because right now, if you play Facebook, there's an option to like play a couple stupid games like darts, like beer pong, and golf. And instead of having that, and it actually says like play Halo Infinite, I mean, I think that would be pretty huge, especially for a lot of places around the world that consoles cost like $1,200 just to buy a new Xbox, like in Australia and in Argentina. So I think those services, you're right, are probably way more important than VR right now. So all right, so back to this MOBA. So all right, so it's in partnership with Tencent. The game is a 5-on-5, fairly traditional looking MOBA for Nintendo Switch and mobile devices. You can run around a symmetrical map with each team having a base on each side, and you'll be tasked with catching Pokemons, in which you can do by standing on certain capture points. So you just, instead of like beating them up, you can just stand on capture points. So, and then you can choose from a handful of different Pokemon with various combat skills. So far, you've got Snorlax, Pikachu, Talonflame, Machamp, Venusaur, Charizard, Blastoise, Clefairy, Gengar, and Lucario. Devin, aren't you proud of me that I hit all those Pokemon names perfectly without messing up?
That's pretty good. I'm just doing some math here for the future for the next subject here.
And the game is cross-platform, so players on mobile devices will be able to queue up and play with friends playing on Nintendo Switches, and there's no release date of that. Okay, so you're a massive Pokemon fan.
No.
Tencent gives you money to make a game. Is MOBA like your first? Like, I mean, I thought the day of the MOBA was done. I thought the day of trying to be the number 3 MOBA was like gone, a day of the past. We've got League, we have Dota. Like Heroes of the Storm is a distant third place in the MOBA genre. Like, I don't know if this is like to get little kids hooked on the MOBA, to be like, hey, come spend more money playing.
Pokemon's like, we need a new challenge. We're winning everything else, so we need a new challenge. Let's go MOBA.
I don't think they're winning everything else. Like, I know there's
they
a lot
sell
of
a lot of crap, you know.
Well, they do, but I don't think their games are that good. And then I'm gonna like look over my back now this whole week to make sure I don't get stabbed in the back by Pokemon's fans. But like, I think like they haven't really iterated on what a Pokemon game is for years.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, now you can make your Pokemons bigger when they fight. That's cool, I guess. But it's still turn-based, when even people like Square Enix are like, all right, we got to get rid of this turn-based combat. We got to go to a more action-style game because that's where everything's going. But Pokemon is still stuck in the past of select your attack. Hey, you went first, so you killed this person because it's a leaf type and you're a fire type. I don't understand why they like go for the MOBA. I mean, it's just weird to me that they're like, hey, let's make a MOBA. I mean, this could have been
weird to me as well. I don't know why they would.
And if this is Tencent, I mean, we're talking about, is it Tencent? I'm pretty sure it's Tencent. You can correct me if I'm wrong. It's either Tencent or NetEase that were making Diablo Immortal, which appeared to be a clone of another game off of the Chinese.
It was.
So I don't know if this
Tencent.
is. I don't know if this is just like a similar situation where they had this MOBA and they're like, we don't know what to do with it. How do we make this MOBA different?
Use this Western property and put it
exactly,
fit it around it.
Well, I don't think Pokemon is Pokemon Western.
I mean, well, I don't know. They're just trying to be different for the Western market, I'm guessing. Here.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah, so it's like, hey, we need to put something on this, put Pokemon on it because it's super popular and it'll sell a lot. I mean, right now it says it's free to start, so I don't know what kind of monetization thing is going to be in there. I mean, we don't know anything like, hey, in League and Dota, you have like hundreds of characters that have certain battle set that's like, hey, this person's strong here, this one's, you know, a laner, this one's a jungler. That's a weird word to say. So I don't know what you do here. Like, is Pikachu, like, are you like gonna lane with Pikachu, or are you just gonna go collect XP with Pikachu? It's just weird. It's really weird to me that this is like the next thing from Pokemon. I would have, you know, this, we get Pokemon Snap, and now we get Pokemon MOBA.
Yeah.
I mean, do you have any interest in picking up Pokemon MOBA?
No, like, I don't. I mean, in general, I don't have any interest in picking up a Pokemon game. So, I mean, I enjoyed Pokemon a long time ago when I was in, like, you know, middle school and high school. But that was more of the card game, not the video games. I just never really got into them too much.
And I think like Pokemon could have like one of the, I mean, it is one of the biggest franchises out there. I just don't think they do enough to like warrant, you know, the amount of success that they have, because it just seems like they rest on their laurels a lot. But anyway, enough about Pokemon Mobile. I hope that they have lots of success there. Okay, yeah, and Tencent also owns Riot, who developed League of Legends. So, and maybe this is what this is. Let's get the little kids addicted to a MOBA. They'll start out with Pokemon, and when they need something, you know, something a little bit more in depth, they can go to League, and then they can become champions at the MOBA jump. All right. Another interesting thing is that who is this? Let me pull this up really quick. I'm pretty sure this was Sean Layden. Yep. All right. So Sean Layden, he's an ex Sony executive. He had a quote that he was talking to some people about, and it's a quote that was picked up by a lot of gaming outlets, and I just wanted to talk about this. So the current AAA game model is just not sustainable. And this is something that we have actually talked on the show a lot about, you know, the cost of games, the cost of, you know, development, getting all these voice actors, and then only charging $60 for something that took you 5 years to make. Like, so he says the problem with that model is it's just not sustainable. He said the problem with that model is, okay, I just said that. That's written twice there in this article for some reason. That doesn't make sense to me. So major AAA, major AAA games in the current generation go anywhere from 80 million to 150 million or more to build. Even that number seems low to me.
Yeah, that definitely seems small to me. So
yeah, that seems low. I think Control was made for like 150 million. I think I remember that number being passed around for some reason for Control. So it costs that much or more to build, and that's before marketing. It's a huge upfront cost. So maybe because it's not including marketing, that's why it seems low to us. He says, I don't think that in the next generation, you can take those numbers and multiply them by 2 and think that you can grow. I think the industry as a whole needs to sit back and go, all right, what are we building? What's the audience expectation? What is the best way to get our story across? And say what you need to say. I am not a game developer, so I'll preference my statements with that. But I agree. I think the more and more we put into this high budget stuff, like I know that, you know, when you look at games like Naughty Dog, The Last of Us 2, I can only imagine how much that game costs to make. Probably a lot of money, especially with the marketing behind it.
Yeah, well, I mean, you have to think about where these big studios are, right? They are in Santa Monica, right? For Naughty Dog, I think. And then, like, I'm just thinking for, like, 343 Industries. They're up in Seattle. It's expensive to live in Seattle. And say you got, I'm just saying, rough estimate, 500 people working on Halo. And they're, like, just averaged out their salary of $75,000. Because a lot of people, like, game developers in some places, they're making... You know, in California, where it's like $100,000 because it just costs a lot of money to live there. So, in order to get people to your studio, you have to pay them, right? So, even if we just averaged out $75,000 for developers, for 500 people, that's $37 million a year, right? And Halo 5 has been in development or Halo Infinite has been in development for 5 years. That's $187 million you've been paying people to make this game. That doesn't include, you know, anything else, like
that's not
operating budget, anything. That's just pay. That doesn't include health insurance, any of that stuff. You know, if they have, I'm sure they do because it's Microsoft. But then you got marketing, all the other stuff that you're working on with other people about. You know, so these huge games cost so much money, and it's like, okay, if it costs $300 million to make this game, you have to make that back, right? Or it's no point.
Or it's a failing business, because that's how businesses work.
Yeah. And so, but I mean, obviously with huge properties like Halo, where, you know, even Halo 5 made hundreds of millions of dollars and continue to make that off of the microtransactions from buying their
the
rec packs, you know. There has to be, and we've talked about this, there has to be some way for developers to make money to keep going, right? Unless they can get a deal or they're a first party title, you know, company where they're just going to keep giving them money to make more games, or eventually if their games aren't selling, they're going to shut them down and move people to different studios like they all do, because it's a business, you know, and so it has to make money. And that's why there's a lot of studios that aren't doing crazy new games, because they're like, we're spending hundreds of millions of dollars, it has to be a hit, you know. Right. Because they're just like, oh, we need something with a long tail that can keep making money, we can keep it around for years and years. And
yeah, I mean, it's really hard. We talked about Star Wars Squadrons last week, and that game being not really calling it a AAA game. I mean, it's a $40 game that looks, I mean, it looks like it could be a AAA game. I mean, it looks really good. I mean, it's really hard to make spaceships look bad, though. I'm sure I could manage to do that. But it's weird, because you want companies to make money so that they can keep making the games that you love, right? That's the goal. So that means we have to support them. Would people support companies if they sold The Last of Us 2 for $90 instead of $60? I mean, would a kid be able to go to a parent and be like, Dad, I need $90 for a video game, when, you know, last week it was like $60? I mean, that's probably a pretty hard ask for a lot of people. Yeah. So, I mean, and that's why we've seen all these other monetization methods with, you know, buying things in game, buying Bright Dust or whatever it's called in Destiny now, buying shards in Anthem to supplement that cost. So, I mean, it's a very hard. I would much rather have a shorter game, much like Control, where it told the story, it was concise about the story, it doesn't take you 40 hours to get through. It's like, hey, you know, it took me 20 hours to get through Control. The team was able to do that in a decent amount of time with minimum crunch, and they could get the return on that, and they can move on to the next one based on the success of the first one. But again, this is all really hard stuff. It's easier for us to backseat finance, but it's really tough to do. I mean,
I would prefer those.
We can't all be Fortnite, so.
No, you definitely can't all be Fortnite making, you know, 40 million or whatever just off of mobile every month or whatever.
Every hour.
Yeah, I don't know. They make ridiculous amounts of money, but yet they still get investments. I don't understand why, but yeah, no, I mean, it's crazy, and I certainly like, you know, Rare with Sea of Thieves, $30 for the game. They give you free monthly updates every single month, and I'm not saying I buy everything that comes out for that game, but I certainly buy ship sets and those kind of things, because I've gotten hundreds of hours worth of entertainment out of their game, and I still continue to get entertainment out of it. So I don't feel bad about, hey, I'll put $20 more into this game this month because I'm gonna play it, you know, 50 or 60 more hours, where going to the movies or even buying a movie is $20+, and that's for a couple hours, you know. So
and this brings up a whole nother conversation, like, you know, how do developers that have games on Game Pass make any of this money back, right? Because it seems like we're just like giving them nothing, or getting to play hundreds. Well, I mean,
they get money from Microsoft to have their game on there, and then they actually, I mean, a lot of, you know, stats show that more people that play it actually buy the game. Like when I enjoy the game off of Game Pass, I buy it, because I mean, that's me, but I'm not saying this to everybody, but I'm like, oh, okay, this is a really good game, because I don't know, eventually games get moved off of Game Pass that aren't first party. So if I'm enjoying a game that's not made by Microsoft, then I'm going to buy it because I want to be able to keep it. And that's just my way of also saying to the developer, yeah, I really enjoyed this game, so I'm going to purchase it. And, you know, it's not like they have all the DLC or anything else like that on Game Pass, which they do have some of those things, but if you want that extra stuff, you still have to buy it.
Right. So speaking of games that are going to be 200 plus hours, should we talk a little bit about Cyberpunk and a couple of things that happened in Cyberpunk?
Yeah.
Um, so before today, they announced that there was a comic coming out, and it is a comic series called Cyberpunk 2077 Trauma Team, and it's a new series based on the highly anticipated game. There is an assistant EMT for a privately owned business known as Trauma Team International. They're the sole survivor of a failed mission turned shootout. So that comic will be coming out. Let's see. Does it give a date when the comic will be coming out? It does not.
I didn't see
So
one.
they usually announce comics 3 months early so that people can order them in. So I'm guessing that this one's actually going to be back in print, and they're anticipating comic shops opening up at least to pick up comics. So this one will probably be
our local comic shop is open. So
right. So I guess if they announce it today, that means it's going to be coming out probably 3 weeks after the game releases, because the game releases on
November 19th. No, it should be coming out before the game.
This I'm guessing was supposed to be in combination with the game release, but because it got pushed back, they're like, well, we can't really. There's no reason in pushing this back, so let's just have it released.
Well, I mean, it doesn't have any spoilers for the game. It's a whole different story, right? It's not dealing with the people in the game, just like the anime, which I think is crazy that they announced that already, considering it's 2 years
out.
That's
coming out in 2022.
Yeah.
So they announced the anime that's being made by Studio Trigger. Those are that's the same studio that made Kill la Kill. And did they? No, I think Gainax made Gurren Lagann, but I could be wrong. So that's going to be coming out in 2022. They were really excited about that. Also, Cyberpunk 2077 will be backwards compatible with both next gen consoles if you buy it
or
on
forwards
this generation,
compatible?
and they will be forwards compatible. Yes, what I say.
Backwards. I mean, it's backwards if you're playing on that one, because you'll be playing the current gen version.
So it's both, right? Mm-hmm. But you get a free upgrade if you get the PlayStation 5 or the Xbox Series X. All right.
Yep.
So Devin, want your opinion on the Cyberpunk gameplay that they showed off today, because a lot of outlets got to play for about 4 hours. They had a lot of impressions. We got to see a new trailer. Have your thoughts changed at all on Cyberpunk after seeing the trailer today?
No, I mean, I thought it looked great, looks amazing, and all the information that I'm seeing is good. I mean, as long as what you said for Kotaku Australia holds out, that I can not have to see all the nudity everywhere, then I'm excited for it, because I wanted to play it. It's a cool looking game. I like that style and that setting, and so I definitely want to play it, but because of it was just going to have so much nudity and everything else, I was like, well, I'm not going to be able to play this, because I don't really enjoy playing games where my kids can't be just like walking by, type of thing, or it's like, oh, I have to pay attention, make sure I can't play this, it's a secret, it just makes me feel awkward when I'm like, okay, let me sneak around, I'm going to go play this game when no one's looking.
Right. No, I agree and I understand, but even if there's not any nudity, there's a lot of gory killing in
for sure.
The trailer that we saw.
Yeah, like I was playing Battlefield the other day, and then you're just killing people, and I just shanked this dude, and he's like, whatever, and I turned to my son's just right there, he's just like,
wide-eyed, like,
I'm like, go away.
Dad, what just happened?
I'm like, what are you doing here? Because my kids
just putting him to sleep, son.
They'll just sneak up and like stand right next to me, because I always have headphones on. And but no, I'm definitely excited for the game. It looks really cool. They said that's a game that you're going to be able to play for the next couple of years. So whatever kind of DLC they're going to have, is going to be there. And they did say, yeah, you'll be playing. It'll work with the next gen consoles, and it'll just perform better. But because you're just going to have the current gen version, and the true next gen, what they're going to take advantage of, the hardware is not coming until next year for both systems.
I mean, and this game is going to be hundreds of hours. So with game ADD, and with it coming out probably very close to Halo Infinite. I mean, is this going to be like priority, or is this going to be backseat to Halo Infinite?
No, it'll be backseat, and that's for me why I also think like, oh, okay, when they announce this is really bad for launch games, and so I'm thinking, all right, so if the system was originally going to come out in November, I think they need to, if possible, move it to like October, right? So like if the Series X had come out in October, to give like these huge titles, because Halo is a huge title, but so is Cyberpunk. Cyberpunk's first game, but it's been anticipated for 8 years, right?
Right.
And it's been pushed back. He was supposed to come out beginning of last year, and it kept getting pushed. And so I think like I'm sure developers, when they heard this, were like, "Oh my gosh, this is,"
They just started. I assume that a lot of them just started crying.
They're like, we got to crunch harder to get crap done so we can get our games out earlier. And that used to be like what a Halo game was, or what a Call of Duty game was, or when Destiny came out. It was like you put your game out either before this or a really long time after this, because no one is going to play your game if it comes out within a couple weeks of this title, right? And so
right, and that's why Titanfall died.
Yeah, I mean, well, EA sent Titanfall out and shot it in the back of the head as it was walking out the door. Right. So when it put it in between both Battlefield and Call of Duty, it's like, why don't you just kill the franchise doing it that way? But yeah, no, I mean, it's gonna be a huge game, and they're like, oh yeah, a lot of people, I don't know if there's really interest in it or whatever. It's like some of these outlets are like, yeah, I don't know how big it's gonna be. What are you talking about? I mean, it's everywhere. Everybody wants to see it. Everybody wants to play it. It's going to be a huge title. And so for me, I'm like, okay, I want Halo to be a success. And I want to play it sooner. So I would rather they have the stuff come out in October. But
And there are some rumors that have been circulating that there is a release date around the middle of October, but those are all rumors. So I don't even know if it's worth talking about right now, because I mean, that would be pretty impressive if they moved that a whole console launch up because of one game, considering like the Halo campaign is probably going to be maybe 10 hours, because that's what they usually are.
I mean, who knows, right?
Unless they go a completely different direction with Halo Infinite, which, maybe they do. Maybe they're like, hey, we can't just do this linear campaign anymore. Let's do something a little bit different.
Well,
for me, something like Cyberpunk can wait a couple months, because it is going to be such a long game anyway.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know if there's like a huge rush to get to it, burn through it just to get to the end. I don't think it's going to be one of those games like, it's not going to be the Last of Us 2 style narrative game.
No, I mean, I like that it's coming out in November, because then that gives me time during Thanksgiving week and also Christmas break. Gives me opportunity when I'm going to be home, because I'm already going to take days off for when Halo Infinite comes out. So It's like, I don't, some of my friends are like, yeah, I want to take time off to play this game. And like, oh, that's awesome. It's a single player game, so nothing we can do about it, and everybody's going to be a little bit different based on your choices. But I mean, I'm excited to play it, but at the same time, it's not something that I'm going to be like, oh, I have to play this right now, because it's got a long story and long tails, basically what they're going to do, because they have multiplayer stuff coming out next year, story DLC, those kind of things. And I would rather play Halo, than Cyberpunk if I had to choose.
Right. All right. So speaking of Halo, should we play this this signal that was detected? Should we play this right now for all the listeners? Let's
play
do
it.
that.
Play it up.
Play that funky music. Signal detected. This is tweeted out by the official Halo Twitter account. It says anomaly deciphering.
The hour approaches. Forces occupy the ring. Within hours, it will be under our control. Humanity will burn. Their brazen defiance will be all but a memory. No more prophets. No more lies. We stand together, brothers to the end. We are his will. We are his legacy. We are the banished.
All right, Devin, our resident Halo nerd, what is this all about? Why are we hyped about this this signal detected?
Yeah, so I mean, this signal detected, we've kind of known that for people who've been following it closely, that the Banished would be in Halo Infinite, but this is like the actual confirmation because Mega Bloks had leaked multiple times different figures from the Banished, right, with their color schemes and stuff.
Bloks, man.
I mean, Legos and stuff leak things, and they're like, whatever. But no, so the Banished really came about in Halo Wars 2, and their story was all that was the main enemy you fought there. And this is basically, the brutes are back, but they're a combination of all like the most insane, crazy part of the Covenant, continually building and building and building. And they're basically telling you, like in Halo Wars 2, they tell you the Covenant was fighting two different groups of people. They were fighting humanity and they were fighting the Banished. And they said they almost defeated the humanity, but they never even got close with the Banished, right? So they're crazy, really powerful. If you play Halo Wars 2, or even if you want to just watch the hour and a half worth of cutscenes made by Blur for Halo Wars 2, you can get the story in there and get the information to get you kind of caught up about it. But I mean, there's rumors for Halo Infinite that it would be the Banished, and then also be the Created, which is like humans and pre-runners, forerunners, and then the Flood, right? Precursors, yeah. And so it's like there might be a 4-way battle, well, 5-way if you include the regular, humans, the UNSC. But it's good because this is a new enemy, and they had talked about how Halo Infinite's kind of a spiritual reboot for the series. And so we're going to see, I mean, the story wasn't great for most people in Halo 4 and 5, which is not, I mean, there's no argument for me. I mean, it was a story. That's all I see it as one of the mini stories, because I partake of all the Halo content, whether it's books, movies, comics, all that stuff. And there's a lot of books that both Steve and I could tell you there was a lot of several years that it was like an apology tour, and it was not good. Let's hate everything that made this franchise good. But yeah, no,
Before you continue, Devin, SJ has a question in chat, and I want to know if you had come across this also. So SJ says, quick question, because I've seen some things on Twitter, do you think that is a crack on the screen or a flood spore? People are saying it is a flood spore because the very top crack can be seen moving a little bit back and forth. So I was totally paying attention to everything you were saying, Devin, I promise. But while I was paying attention to everything you were saying, I was also scrubbing back and forth on this tweet. And I think it's very clearly supposed to look like it's a crack at first glance. But as I was scrubbing back and forth on this thing, because a lot of times refraction happens because it's a screen, it's cracked, you're going to get some refraction inside that crack. But even when a lot of the stuff on screen is not moving to where there would be light refraction, that bottom crack is kind of wiggling. So I can totally see why people would think that it's a flood spore.
Yeah, I mean, that's, like I said earlier, the DLC, that was the last DLC where the flood was involved. And I hadn't played that yet, so that's why I had reinstalled it, because I'm like, okay, I need to finish those 2 DLCs to really get caught up with the full story of what happened with Atriox, the leader of the Banished, and as well as the rest of the Banished when they fought the Flood. And I mean, when you're showing it in there, he's just like destroying them single-handedly, popping them in his hands, in his bare hands and stuff. I mean, you never know. I mean, it could be the Flood. I hope the Flood is in Halo Infinite, but in a more dark and sinister way, because I really enjoyed it in Halo 2. And they could definitely make a horror game with the Flood in Halo. And just,
I think that would be awesome.
Yeah. No, I mean, there's so many things they could do with Halo, and so I mean, they've been working on this for 5 years. So I'm hoping, really hoping, that they're gonna go all out, where there is multiple enemy factions to fight, and they could be infected with the Flood. You never know.
Yeah, I mean, I think it could definitely go both ways. Where like, yeah, I can see this as a crack, but I could also see people arguing that, hey, that is, tendrils from the flood spore. So I can't say for sure what it is. To me, it looks like that thing's moving when it shouldn't be moving while it was playing. But again, like, I agree, Devin. I think there is so much potential in the Halo universe that I hate that they have not done more with it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, they had, what was it? They had like, they're hiring for the next Halo game, and people were like freaking out. They're like, Halo Infinite's not even out yet, and they're hiring for the next one. And it's like, that's usually how it works, right? They have a small team working on what's coming next. But for me, I would rather they have multiple teams working on Halo, where they could do a main line and then an offshoot where they could really experiment and go out there and do all kinds of crazy stories with it. All right, go ahead. That's my.
Okay, no, I was just going to say that this tweet has been viewed 2.7 million times, almost more hours watched than people watch video content on Mixer. I'm just kidding. That's not true. That's just a stab that's just a stab at Mixer. I'm just saying, I am excited that people are getting hyped. There's a lot of stuff that Microsoft puts out that never hit this amount of views on Twitter. So it's not like a huge indicator that people are being hyped, but it's a small indicator that people are still excited about Halo.
Yeah.
Because I'm now starting to get excited for whatever that announcement is next month.
Yeah, no, for sure.
Because after the whole PlayStation thing, I was excited about the PlayStation reveal. Now I'm like, okay, that's kind of died off a little bit. Still excited about a lot of the games that they showed off there, Horizon Zero Dawn or Horizon Forbidden West. Maybe they'll trek through New Mexico in that game or not, but with the Miles Morales stuff. But now it's like, all right, moving on to Halo. This is like one of the biggest video game franchises ever. It was definitely the biggest during Halo 2. Biggest launch. I mean, they still show off videos of that Halo 2 launch, before digital content was a thing, and just thousands of people standing in line, thousands of people hyped up. So I'm really getting excited for it.
I mean, they make, like on Halo 2 and Halo 3, they made, $300-400 million in a single night selling the game, so it's a huge franchise, and we talked about this off the air in a different time, where people were, fanboys, or just like myself, it's
true.
They're just like, oh, what's a bigger franchise, Spider-Man or Halo, and it's like they're saying, oh, no one's interested in Halo. It's like, this is a minute-long audio clip with millions of views on it. Tell me that people aren't still excited for this franchise. And, I'm excited for both. I've been enjoying Spider-Man on the PlayStation 4. I'm going to pick up Miles Morales on the PlayStation 5. And, I'll enjoy that. But for me, honestly, like, Halo is a bigger launch than anything else. And it has to be a huge launch for Microsoft. This is the first Halo to launch with the system since Halo CE. So
I think also it's going to be different this time around, because with it launching on PC, and if they spin up esports around it, this is the perfect time for Halo esports to come back.
Oh yeah,
you're on PC, keyboard and mouse. No more of this, hey, it's easy because it's on controller. Like, now's the time where, people that are playing Valorant, people that are playing Overwatch, it's like, this is one of the biggest games that was on consoles forever. Now it's on PC. Now I can do it with keyboard and mouse. I mean, I can only guess how big, and I can only hope how big Halo will be in the esports scene. Something new, something different, instead of all these.
Yeah, well, I mean, I can see them doing two different versions where they have both PC and console, where they have different brackets, different people going, because some people aren't going to want to use keyboard and mouse, and others will want to use the controller, and they could still have, okay, this is the esports for console, this is the esports for PC for Halo, and you're checking it out and watching it, and then it'll always be like, all right, let's pair the best two teams together on each side and fight it out. Yeah. But, there's definitely a lot of room for potential there. And that's why Microsoft 100% invested, hundreds of millions of dollars. They built a whole brand new engine. And, I mean, they are ramping up the media around it. It was mentioned in multiple articles. They talked about how I'm pretty sure 343, it's been talked about many times, that they were pretty much the first studio that knew the specs for the Series X, and so they could really design Halo Infinite around that system, to take advantage of everything that it's going to put in there. I mean, or as much as it can. And I mean, they have like their software engineers, the system engineers, basically saying this is the most advanced game engine in the world, and all this stuff. And so it's going to take advantage of all the newest features, right? So, and with it using DirectX 12, which, during this current generation, pretty much, that's already on, like the Xbox One and on the One X. They already have DirectX 12 in those systems to be used, but it just really wasn't used because games weren't programmed for that, because third-party games, were going to sell more on the PlayStation, so they didn't really focus on that. But with the new engine from 343 Industries that was focused on DirectX 12 and everything else, they can fully take advantage You know, they've said they're going to fully take advantage of everything within all the boxes that hasn't been taken advantage of because it wasn't programmed for it.
And it's time to get hyped. So SJ in the chat says, when we were talking about other games that they could do in the Halo universe, asks like an ODST type of spinoff or something completely different. I think Devin, both you and I would like something completely different.
Yeah,
right?
I mean could do. I think they could do multiple. They could do ODST stuff. They could do completely different. They could do horror. I mean, that's what I'm like. Okay, you can have two teams working where you have mainline Halo. It's published this year, and then maybe the year after, you know, or 2 years after, they have an offshoot or something else, another game that's coming out within the Halo universe that they can really take risks on and explore different stories besides the Master Chief story. Because in a mainline Halo game, as they've learned, people don't want to play as Spartan 4s. They don't want to play as these other Spartans when it's supposed to be a Master Chief story, right? And so, I mean, it's fine if you want to do a story around the Spartan 4s, just don't advertise it as a mainline Halo game, which is supposed to be the Master Chief.
Very similar to like what they did with ODST or Halo Reach, and those were both very successful. Yeah, because they weren't marketed as, hey, what's the Chief doing now when Noble 6 is over here on Reach?
Yep, exactly.
I think like I would love to see different games, like a Halo game that's very much like Homeworld, where you're controlling all these different frigates and fighters, because the UNSC has tons of different ships. The Covenant has like lots of different corvettes, and they've got all their stuff going on. So I mean that's kind of far out there. I don't think they would ever do something like that. That kind of RTS game, it really isn't like in vogue right now.
Yeah, well, I mean, they have the RTS. I would enjoy another Halo Wars. I would enjoy if they had actually made the Mega Bloks version. You know, the Lego games
that was very cool
that they've cut twice now. You know, because that would definitely be a hit for kids. You know, and I would love to play that with my kids. There's just so many opportunities that, I mean, they could even do like I was talking with my friends the other day about, okay, what do you have to do to be successful in a multiplayer game, PvP focused multiplayer? It's like all the big titles have a battle royale, right? I mean, they have to have bigger modes with lots of people in them that can get in there, and it's like, okay, well, what do you want to do with battle royale? It's like, just do ODSTs, hell jumpers. How easy you're getting shot down in, you know, feet first as hell jumpers, you know, and go on the map. And your regular soldiers training, doing this other stuff, like it sells itself for Halo anyways. I mean, to me, that makes a ton of sense, because they need to have larger than 16 player maps, right? And so what's Halo going to do for that? You know, what are the next games going to do? Because Warzone is super successful, Fortnite's super successful, PUBG super successful. And so what's Halo going to do to stand out within this crowded market where it's like, I need a place where I can play with a lot of people? So
yeah, and those are those players that you want to capture. All the people that would be playing Halo are playing those games. So
yeah,
you've got to figure out how to do something different and how to do it better. So it'll be interesting to see. All right, let's move off for Halo, because we'll talk a little bit about that more. I'm going to jump through these last two things, and then I really want to talk about your experience with Disintegration and something that you're working on. All right, so Nintendo is reportedly stepping away from mobile games. They had a bunch of mobile games on there. They had like a Fire Emblem game where you got to pick a bunch of characters. They had Super Mario Run that cost $10. Then they had Dr. Mario, which was a nightmare for them, and then the Mario Kart. So apparently they're stepping away because of the success of the Switch. And Animal Crossing during the pandemic. I think if Nintendo put different games out on the market and
put an effort into it,
I think if they would have tried, they could have been super successful, because the idea of like a Mario Run sounds good on paper, but the way it was implemented, it was just so like touch the button, tap the button here, that it didn't really work for me.
Yeah.
But I mean, there's lots of properties that they could. I don't know why they just didn't put like an emulator out on the iStore and on the Apple Store, the iStore. And, you know, sell emulation for their old games, which seems like that would have been like a no-brainer. Like, but I guess they don't even do that for their virtual console now. So I don't know. Nintendo's weird. Nintendo, like, they march to the beat of their own drum, but they're reportedly stepping away from the mobiles game, even though mobile, makes billions and billions.
Yeah, they made hundreds of millions of dollars off of it, and they're like, not enough. They're pulling to Disney. They're like, oh, it's successful, but it's not as successful as we want, so we're not going to do it.
Yeah. So then EA wants to double down on making Star Wars games. I'm sure this is going to be super exciting for Star Wars fans and super unexciting for Star Wars fans. So EA CEO Andrew Wilson, also known as Uncle Andrew among a lot of BioWare people that we've talked to. So Uncle Andrew has revealed that he wants to... What?
Can't believe you said that out loud, Steven. You're supposed to say that to people.
There's a lot of BioWare people. I mean, I guess take your pick on who said it, but so Uncle Andrew,
they're never going to talk to us again.
I don't think they're talking to us now anyway. So Uncle Andrew has revealed that he wants to double down on the developers' creative partnership with Disney to make Star Wars games. The company held a fireside chat webinar with investors this week via GameSpot. During the conference, Wilson alluded to the financial success of the modern Star Wars Battlefront series, Respawn's Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order, and the mobile game Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes, which I have not played, but it's a mobile game, so I'm sure it makes a ton of money for people that enjoy that kind of stuff. That wasn't part of the message. That was me just interjecting. Back to the article. As part of this reasoning for further commitment to the license, we're going to double down on that partnership. And nothing is better than just saying it's super successful, make more of it, because that works 100% of the time, right?
Let's make more.
Guaranteed to print money. Just make more Star Wars game. Because I mean, there weren't any problems with just like coming out with Solo, Rogue One, all the other Star Wars things in quick succession. Like zero problems there, right? Everyone loved it. No issues. The more Star Wars, the better. So I imagine that this will be exactly the same and everything will work out perfect as long as EA continues to make Star Wars games. So
yeah.
I need to take a drink of water now.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think it'll be interesting. I don't know how successful Squadron's going to be. It's something that a lot of people want to play, but is it the version of what they've wanted to play?
No, it's not, because it's all first person. And I don't think people are saying that enough, that Star Wars Squadrons is only first person.
Yeah.
You don't see your ship at all.
I don't know. I mean, I don't understand. I mean, they're like, oh, you can customize your ship, but it's like, I don't ever see my ship on the outside, so what do I need to customize it for on the outside?
You will see the enemy ship fly by super fast and be like, hey, that was a cool sticker.
Did you see that black color? Was so good.
Because, like, why would you not just make your ship black because you're in space and it's harder to see?
Yeah, let's make them all white.
Anyway. So, all right, Devin, now I want to hear about the important stuff. I want to hear about your experience with Disintegration, because that is a game that came out. I was excited for it. It came out, and I quickly forgot about it, and I don't know if I'll ever go back and play it.
Yeah, no, I mean, I'm waiting for an update. I'll have to check it. I didn't check it today. I was going to check it, but yeah, no, I'm excited for it. I mean, it's made. I've been following development for it for a long time, because I'm a big fan of Marcus Leto, the co-creator of Halo, basically. Formed a new studio, 30 people, to make a new game, and they're trying something different with it, and I played the beta or the technical beta and that stuff, and it worked great. So a game came out, and I'm trying to play it, and inverting the controls doesn't work, so I can't play it. Because I play inverted, and I don't want to have to relearn how to play video games. Right? So
yeah, I think it's like impossible at this point to try to unlearn invert and go back to and learn normal.
I mean, I can do that. It's just not as responsive as I want it to be. It's like,
and you will die all the time.
Yeah, no, and I'm supposed to be like moving around, moving my units, do all this stuff, and it's like I can't experience your story because you've limited the way I can play. Or I mean, it's in there like it's supposed to work. It worked during the technical betas, but it didn't work in the launch. So at least not for me.
And that's I'm sure that's very frustrating, because you're not the only one that's reported that. I mean, when you have a small team, QA, unfortunately, you don't have a lot of time or a lot of people to do QA. I mean, but again, it was like working during the technical beta, so it wasn't something that anyone brought up because there weren't any issues. So when it releases and there's an issue, it's like, well, I guess, now we're going to have to push a patch, and that's not as easy as not so easy said and done. But hopefully, I hope that teams like this size find success, and I hope that V1 Interactive has success with Disintegration, and they continue to make new stuff. All right, Devin, real quick, unless you have anything more on Disintegration, I'm going to talk about my experience in Dark Souls. Then I want to ask you about something that you're working on. All right.
Okay.
So I've been playing Dark Souls in the morning. This is something that I am very surprised at how much I am enjoying doing this. I found a couple of people that jump on my stream super early in the morning. I appreciate them because Honest is someone is the name of someone that has jumped in my streams and has helped me out a lot because that game is very difficult. As a new person to that genre, it is very hard to complete. It is very much go here, die, go here, die, go back and die hundreds of times until you learn patterns and you recognize those patterns and you're able to overcome it. But it's been a lot of fun playing something that I normally would not play and just having like a giant palette cleanser after playing Anthem for so long. So it's kind of been very cathartic for me to like go to a different genre and just kind of learn something new because it's been super helpful and I've been having a lot of fun playing Dark Souls 3. And I think all the Dark Souls games right now are currently on sale on Steam. It's part of Steam's summer sale. I think there's like hundreds of titles right now that are on sale over there. All right. Devin, this is something that you and I have recently been talking about. A new video series that we're going to be doing. So we've been talking about, hey, we want to make more content. We kind of want to do more stuff for the YouTube channel. So we came up with an idea, and I want you to tell the people the idea that we've come up with and what you're going to be doing and what you're going to be working on.
All right. So the basic idea is because I play more first-person shooters than most anything else.
Anyone in the world?
Not even close.
Okay, fair enough.
But I've been playing it for a long time, and so because we were trying to do like, okay, here's content where you playing it and you can watch it, and then I'm going to do content where I'm going to be doing, kind of voiceover of why I did what I did when I'm playing this game. I mean, I'm not the best player in the world by any means, but I can do fairly well for the most part in pretty much any first person shooter. And so we were talking about, okay, let's do a series of why did you go this way? What can lead to better success when you're playing these types of games? Because a lot of people that kind of follow us or are in the Discord and those kind of things maybe don't play that kind of stuff. And so it was just like, okay, let's talk about what I did right and what I did wrong and how to improve people's gameplay, right? How do you give people advice on what they can do, why I made these decisions that lead to me, having higher scores or being in the top percentile in most of the games that I'm playing. And then even making videos where it's like, I sucked really bad this game, and this is why. This is, I'm watching the video, going over and discussing, okay, I made this mistake of pushing too hard or not staying with my team or not having good communication and those kind of things.
Yeah, because I think you, like you said, you were very consistent with all the FPS games that you do play.
Yeah.
And it'd be something that's beneficial for me. Like when I started playing Halo with you guys, I would like get 0 kills for like weeks, right? Because learning a new FPS and jumping in, like it's difficult, it's intimidating, especially when you play with good people and you're always at the bottom and you're like, oh, these guys, we still won, but hey, there's Steve down there with 0 kills.
You got 0 kills and 20 deaths. Good job. No.
Yeah, and that can be intimidating for some people. And if there was some place where people can go to be like, okay, how can I improve? What are the basic things that I should know in order to stay alive and go 43-5 in a battlefield game, like you often do? So I think it'll be a fun series. Also, maybe we'll go down future in the line when someone's like, hey, I want to share my gameplay with you. Tell me what I did wrong, and you could even maybe do a little bit of coaching if someone wanted that. So yeah. I'm excited for this series. It'll be a lot of fun. You're very knowledgeable, and you have like an innate ability to just destroy people in these FPS shooters. So it'll be fun for you to be able to share that knowledge and hopefully help other people improve their gameplay, especially with Halo Infinite coming up.
Yeah.
If you like want to leg up on all these people that are going to be jumping in, like the best time to jump into a fighting game or a shooter is like the first weekend, right?
Right.
That's when you get matched up with
a lot of
so
fresh
many
meat.
people, fresh meat, and you can just rack up those kills. Your confidence goes up. So it's going to be a lot of fun. So.
Yeah, I mean, it'll be interesting because I'm going to switch between, Battlefield 5, Call of Duty, Halo, just different things. And Halo Infinite, we don't know how different it's going to be, so it's going to be interesting to see where their multiplayer design goes and what changes and what hasn't. And again, I'm not saying I have the best or I can be the one to tell you how to do things, but in my experience, I'm pretty decent, and so we thought this would be fun and something for people to watch. And if you think my advice is bad, let me know too. I don't care, whatever.
I oftentimes tell you that your advice is bad. So.
It's true.
And you know what? You've never got mad once that I can remember. So hold on. Oh, don't play that yet. Well, cool. I think unless there's anything else, I think that's probably going to cover it today for episode 128 of the Freelancer Codex podcast. Devin, thanks for hanging out with me. It's been a really long time since it's just been you and I on the show.
Yep.
I thought it would go a little bit short, but hey, we carried it through the entire time, the entire length of the show. That's just, that's how we roll. We love talking about video games, and there's a lot to talk about. Everyone in chat, SJ Dub, Honest, thanks for hanging out with us. We really appreciate everyone that tunes in. SJ, we're glad you're able to make it this time. To everyone that catches the podcast and everyone else, hey, if you want to support us, you can do that over at patreon.com/freelancercodex. Kick us $1, help support the show. We'll try to continue to make content that you enjoy. Hopefully you enjoyed this content. So until next time, we'll see you on the other side. Be good to each other. Please be good to each other. Honestly, just care about each other and lift each other up. Don't bring each other down.
Thank you for listening to the Freelancer Codex, a podcast brought to you by the Shut Up and Respawn Network. Follow us at Freelancer Codex on Twitter or Twitch. Send emails to freelancercodex@gmail.com or voice messages to anchor.fm/freelancercodex/message. We wish to thank all of our Patreons. We are grateful for you all. Thank you for listening to the Freelancer.
Just play it again.